Thank
Faith,
you
welcome.
so much. Thank you.
The floor is yours.
So I've actually been practicing my Romanian. This is my first time in Bucharest. And I saw that faith is credința. Credința. So, salut, numele meu este credința. Is it good? Thank you. Now I'll go home. But yes, I'm Faith. I'm here to talk to you about compliance. Ooh, not the sexiest topic in the world, but it's necessary, right? Every business has different compliance regulations that they need to adhere to. So I'm going to talk about the intersection between ITSM and compliance and how you can use it as a strategic advantage for your business. So today I'm going to talk about the new compliance landscape. I'm going to talk about how this impacts ITSM. As I mentioned, how you can use compliance as a strategic advantage. And then I'm going to give you two demos, one in Confluence and the other one in Jira. So looking at the new compliance landscape, it's no secret that the EU loves regulations, right? It feels like there's a different regulation coming up all the time. Even outside of the EU, I know the UK, I'm from London, is no longer part of the EU because of Brexit. And I was actually chatting with someone earlier about how I had to stand in the very long queue at the airport when I arrived in Romania for all passports because I'm not allowed in the EU queue anymore, which is sad. But yes, even in the UK, we have a lot of new regulations coming up, even in the US and across the world. So these are two recent EU legislative acts. DORA, NIS2, both aim to enhance IT security and operational resilience, but they differ in their scope and also their industry focus as well and overall implementation. So by show of hands, who here has heard of DORA or NIS2? Yes, okay, nice, about half the room, that's good. And that's no surprise because they impact so many different industries, right? So they have a wide scope of the different industries that they focus on. DORA is focused on financial institutions, but NIS2, it hits pretty much every single industry: energy, oil, gas, space travel, healthcare providers, pharmaceuticals, etc. And there are big consequences when it comes for institutions that fail to comply with DORA, NIS2, or other compliance regulations, right? The biggest one is that organizations can face big fines that they have to pay. They can also have the scope of their activities limited by the regulators if they don't comply with these different regulations. Another really big one is that it can cause significant reputational harm. So the American investor Warren Buffett actually has a quote that says, "It takes 20 years to build a reputation and just 5 minutes to ruin it," right? So if your business is found not to be compliant for these different regulations, it can just cut away your entire brand and it will take years to build that back up again. There's also increased scrutiny from different regulators as well if you're not compliant. And again, these are just two regulations that are recent within the EU. There are lots of others, and there'll be many more for sure in the future as well. So what does this mean for IT service management, ITSM? These are the 5 pillars of DORA specifically, but ultimately, entities affected by DORA, by NIS2, by other regulations must demonstrate that they have established a framework and are capable of managing risk and responding to threats. So looking at risk management framework to begin with, organizations need to continuously identify, classify, and manage IT-related risks. So in ITSM, that translates to change management and problem management, which are core for stable operations. Moving on to incident reporting, you need to have timely and structured reporting of these incidents. And this demands consistent incident response workflows and real-time communication channels. You also have to prove that your systems can withstand and recover from any big disruptions, right? So this is all about service continuity planning and disaster recovery within ITSM. You also have to have structured information sharing, so sharing information amongst relevant organizations, the regulators that implement these different compliance measures, and trusted parties as well, and particularly around cyber threats, right? That's a really big thing at the moment, vulnerability and incidents. So the goal here is to foster collective resilience, reduce response time, and prevent repeat incidents across your entire ecosystem. And then finally, you also are responsible for managing and mitigating risks caused by third-party service providers, right? So at Appfire, if you take DORA, for example, we're not a financial institution, but some of our customers are banks, fintech companies. So even though we're not a financial institution, we also have to comply with these different measures because our customers are liable if we're not, right? So this means having visibility into your vendor's performance and their risks as well. So it's not all doom and gloom, don't worry. Compliance doesn't have to be scary. It can be a strategic advantage when done right. So what does doing it right mean? That's when businesses leverage software in order to centralize visibility across teams, automate compliance tasks, and also scale and trace your documentation just to make it easier to track throughout the process. A lot of businesses that don't leverage software, what they find is that when they're close to a deadline for a compliance regulation, they have to stop all the work that they're doing and dedicate a lot of manpower or womanpower in order to be able to meet the regulation, right? So that means taking attention away from your IT and support teams from the day-to-day, and they might have to spend up to 3 months, for example, just focusing on reaching a compliance regulation, whereas if you constantly have a good system and you're leveraging Jira Service Management and Confluence, you can do that more seamlessly. So moving on to the demo part, I am going to show you a quick demo of Confluence and Appfire apps to begin with. So let me get this open on my screen. So looking at IT risk management to begin with. So here, let me go back a step. You can see that we have a Confluence space that's dedicated to DORA and tracking this specific compliance metric. So you can centralize your risk management framework within a dedicated space. Here we have used live templates and reusable excerpts to keep the space content consistent and structured. So whenever we create a new page within this space, right, we don't want to manually create the same tables and information, for example. We can leverage Appfire apps. So specifically here, we've used an app called Scaffolding Forms and Templates and also multi-excerpt in order to just streamline this process. Here we've used another Appfire app called Kamala Document Management, which you might have heard of. So we use that app here in order to just streamline approval workflows when it comes to change management, and specifically here with this compliance regulation. So here you can see you can have e-signatures to enhance security and provide an extra layer of verification. And then you can sync spaces in order to centralize and safeguard approved documents. And you can also continue editing the documents within the draft space without compromising the approved version. So you have a single source of truth. The published version is the live version, but you can also amend it in draft, which is a really cool feature. Moving on to incident reporting within Confluence. So you can collaborate on and document responses to incidents as they are addressed, which is really, really useful to have that chain of who has looked at them, who has collaborated on them. You can also set reviewers for the different pages. So here you can see we've set Ed, Armley, and myself as a reviewer, which is really good to see who is actually responsible for reviewing that. And you can use workflows to communicate the updates and escalations to those key stakeholders. And here we've used one of our apps called Dashboard Hub. Dashboard Hub allows you to have dashboards that pull in information from across various different platforms, Jira, Jira Service Management, Confluence, even outside of Atlassian, Salesforce, ServiceNow, any platform, you can have that all in one dashboard. And the great thing about Dashboard Hub is that you can share these dashboards, which have live information, with key stakeholders that don't have a Jira license. So if there's any data that you want your management to see, for example, or even external regulators, you can clean up the dashboard and make certain metrics private if you would like to, but you can share that information with them and it has live data and they don't need a Jira license in order to use it. So here is an integration between Kamala Document Management and Dashboard Hub, and we've added a widget so that you can add outstanding reviews to your team's dashboard to improve response times. Moving on to operational resilience and testing, we've used one of our apps, Copy Page Tree, in order to keep the objectives clear with a dedicated resilience testing space so that you don't need to start from scratch. And you can create new content by copying existing pages, including labels, etc., just to streamline the process. And standardization also ensures that it's consistent, and you can strengthen compliance evidence. When it comes to sharing information, you can export all of these reports from Confluence so that you have them as an exported file, which is needed for DORA. And you can also track the various changes that have been made because there's a comprehensive audit trail and you can see the different versions. You can also set up a different Confluence space for third-party risk strategies, including the profiles of the various different vendors that you use and initial risk assessments. And you can set expiration dates for this in order for you to be reminded whenever something is coming up for renewal. And then finally, we have Dashboard Hub here again with another widget to track the renewal dates to avoid any last-minute surprises. So I whizzed through that first demo, but here you can see all of the different apps that I talked through, the AppFire apps. Feel free to take a picture of the screen if you'd like to. You can start a free trial of any of these apps on the Atlassian Marketplace. So going on to the final demo, which is on the Jira side. So starting with the risk management framework and incident reporting again, you can configure incoming emails to auto-create incident issues or work items, shall I say, within Jira when an email is received. And this is using our app power scripts. And in the subject, you can see that we've used the term production instance, and this is a keyword that triggers that ticket to be created within Jira, which is really useful. You can also use our app JQL search extensions in order to view all issues, work items, that are linked to a project and assess the impact on related incidents here. Once created, you can save the query as a filter so that you can always use it going forward in the future. You don't have to recreate it every single time. Looking at operational resilience testing, so here we're in Jira Software. We've moved from Jira Service Management into Jira Software. You can start stress testing by automatically adding hundreds of new tasks with comments. And you can execute a very short script that auto-creates 150 issues, for example. And then using our app power scripts, you can run the script. And here you can see it going through with 150 issues, including comments, which automatically get created. When it comes to sharing information, here, for example, you can see that the status has reached generate report status. And by that status being reached, it's automatically created a page within Confluence. So yesterday, there was a session around Confluence and Jira making love. If you weren't here yesterday, it's not as weird as it sounds, but it's basically ensuring that across your different Atlassian products, you have the information captured. So this has gone from Jira into Confluence. If you want to get an audit log of all the incidents, changes, and mitigated actions in order to demonstrate accountability, you can do that with our app Jira CLI, which allows you to run a simple command in the CLI to export all your logs into a shareable CSV file. And then finally, third-party risk assessment. When a new ticket is created, that mentions the term new vendor. Again, another key term used, and a specific vendor name. It will automatically create this, and if there's an existing vendor assessment ticket with the same vendor name, it will automatically link the tickets together, so you can see everything associated with that specific vendor. So that is it for the two demos that I wanted to show you. So again, these are the Jira integrations that I chatted through. Feel free to take a picture, and you can start a free trial of any of them on the Atlassian Marketplace, and you can head over to our booth to find out more information as well. So to wrap up then, you can elevate compliance, ITSM, and much more with AppFire. But why AppFire? So Roman, in his presentation yesterday, had a bit of information about our company. But when it comes to compliance specifically, we're a great partner to have because we're the biggest Atlassian Marketplace vendor, and we have nearly 200 apps in the Atlassian Marketplace with one support portal, so you know that you're going to get the same support experience no matter which one of the apps you're using, and one EULA as well, which is really great. You can also consolidate the number of vendors that you use, which is really useful for that, for reducing third-party risks, as I mentioned earlier. And we ensure that our products are compliant with the new and existing regulations. So while we're helping you with your compliance, we can also prove that we're compliant on our award-winning Trust Center. So if you go to trust.appfire.com, you can see the various regulations that we comply for. And today I've chatted about ITSM, knowledge management and workflow and automation apps. But at Appfire, we also offer apps that can help you migrate and manage. So for example, if you're migrating from data center into cloud, and also apps for agile work management as well.